Hey y'all, it's Savannah and this is Savannah Says. So I'm here to talk about fanfic, okay? And if you don't know, but I feel like you should know, fanfic is just when an author writes their own original story, but they use characters and plot points from pre-existing works. Look, if you came of age between like 2005 and 2015, you definitely have read fanfic. Especially if you were a woman. Fanfic pretty much raised me. I was reading fanfic the moment High School Musical 2 came out. I don't know why I was reading the explicit fanfic, which I probably should not have been reading, but like, again, people like to hate on fanfic, but like, if you think about it, I'm just here to let you know, pretty much every book that comes out today that's like in the romance, like the adult romance, adult fantasy romance, whatever have you, but I think typically in contemporary romance especially, it is straight up based on fanfic. Like everything comes from fanfic, and I think that there are some authors who write fic that are high key better than authors who are like published. Today I'm here to talk about my holy grail fanfics. I have 4 of them, and you know, I currently like am still exploring like different fandoms and stuff like that, but like these are the 4 that I always come back to when I'm in a reading slump, or if I'm feeling like whatever I'm reading is not hitting at the moment and I just need like a quick palate cleanser, I go back to these because I know they're gonna be good. What else can you really ask for, right? So I will say I started off reading High School Musical fanfic, especially High School Musical 2, because that's when it got good. If you know, you know. And then like everyone else, it quickly went into Twilight territory. So I think Twilight was the primary fandom that I read fic for, because there's so many options for pairings. Lastly, I read Harry Potter fic, but the HP fic, because it was still kind of like coming out as I was growing up, especially the movies didn't finish till I was like in high school. So it was weird to read fic then because it was still kind of ongoing. So I read it more after the movies finished, but Twilight for sure was like the standard. And I hate to say that I read like main pairing fics because sometimes I like to switch it up, but for the most part it is main pairing. Like I said, I am trying to get into new fics. I am a Zutara girl from Avatar, which I feel like nobody should be shocked by, but I think Katara should end up with Zuko. I don't really care for Aang as a romantic interest. Like as an Avatar, he's great, but as a romance, I don't care. And so if you know of any Zutara fics that you want to recommend to sis, let me know. I also hesitate to say this on the internet. I am currently reading a Raylo fic, and I know, shh, I know. It has nothing to do with liking those characters in the movies, because in the context of Star Wars, I do not think they should. First of all, there should be no romance in Star Wars because there's enough going on that nobody needs to be dating anybody. And I especially do not believe and do not like that in the movies, in the sequels, they had Raylo together. I think it was a bad choice. Definitely Reddit wrote the scripts. I don't care for it at all. I don't think it should have happened. I don't care for the characters at all in and of themselves to begin with. I don't think Adam Driver is attractive. I don't really think Daisy Ridley is like giving fic main character vibes. So you might be asking, Savannah, why are you reading Raylo fic? I just want to read something where both of the characters are evil, okay? I normally read like good girl, bad guy. That's like the dynamic usually, and by bad guy they're usually like criminals or villains or whatever, but the girl that they're with is like the good one that they're good to, and that's usually the dynamic that I'm on. But I just want to read something where everybody's evil. They're both evil, they're both wreaking havoc on the universe, they both have powers. Like that's just the vibe I want, and I felt like they could give that to me. So don't be in my mention, don't be in my comments, don't be in my inbox talking about Raylo's whack. I know it's whack. I don't really care about them as a couple in canon. This is strictly a non-canon, non-actor related vibe only situation. And you know, maybe it'll be good. I don't know. It's the first one I read. You know, we're working on it, but I just want to let y'all know that's what's happening with me. So now that I've ranted about the fandoms that I like, quickly gonna touch base on the kind of fic that I like to read. So there's, in my experience, 2 types of fic, and the first is like where the author will use pretty much the pre-existing plot and pre-existing characters / couples, and they will write their own story only after like the plot diverges in the original source material, which I'm not really a fan of. But the second version is called AU, Alternative Universe, and that is pretty much the version that I read, and that is where the author of the fic only uses character names and everything else is made up. And usually sometimes the character traits are present, but again, it's mostly made up. And so that's what I find the most interesting. The things are more fun. You're not beholden to like canon and all that. So that's my vibe. So without further ado, let's get started. The first fic that I'm going to talk about is the High School Musical fic. It's called Protecting Fate by this author here. I'm not going to try to say this name because I don't know how to say it. But this is an AU, and it's about obviously Troy and Gabriella, and they're living in this world. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet inspired retelling. And the high school that they go to, East High, obviously is kind of split in the middle. So their fathers are both, I think they're criminal lawyers or something, and they were like rivals in law school, therefore they're rivals for the rest of their life, and basically their families hate each other. And so it's like a forbidden love kind of thing. Yeah, it's good. I don't know, forbidden love, I'm here for it. I love angst, I love slow burn, and this has all of that. And there's nothing better to me than when you're not supposed to be together but you're together in secret. Like, I think that's chef's kiss. I love it. And this fic is good. I will say I do like to read long fics, so I'm going to leave links below, but all of these are pretty long. I like them to be novel length because if I'm going to read it, I'm trying to be invested hardcore. So yeah, Romeo and Juliet retelling, angsty, forbidden love. I mean, what else? What else do you really need? Second is the Harry Potter fic that I pretty much go back to. And I know this is like, well, this used to be a hot take, but I think these days the girls are pretty much in tune with what's going on. But I am a Hermione person, and this does not mean, same with Raylo, like this does not mean that in the canon I want them to be together. Like, I don't want them to be together. And I think Harry Potter had enough drama going on that nobody needed a romance, but because they were like in high school, I guess it makes sense. Outside of canon, I love it. Hermione all the way. And back in the day, this used to be a hot take and I used to be ashamed of it, but now everybody wants to read Hermione. So like, I no longer have to hide my true self. So the Hermione fic that I think is holy grail is called Hunted by Bex Chan. And this is a fic which takes place after the war. So Voldemort's been defeated, and Hermione and Draco both work at the Ministry of Magic as Aurors. And like, there's like this terrorist group that rises up that's targeting Muggleborns. So obviously Hermione's like invested in that because she's Muggleborn, and her and Draco work on this case together. And it's a slow burn, angst, enemies to lovers, because obviously they did not like each other in school, but they end up falling in love. And I like Hermione fics where like Harry and Ron hate the fact that she's with Draco, because it just adds more like dramatic flair to me when all her friends hate Draco, but Draco's kind of like, fuck y'all, like I'm here for that vibe. And this story definitely has that vibe. And I think, you know, it starts off really strong. It's definitely slow burn. I think like it doesn't get good to like good to like chapter 13 or whatever, but for the most part I think this is great. Obviously it's like a murder mystery plot, so that's adding to the it's adding to the dramatics of it all. So yeah, this is a great fic. If you like drama, which I feel like you should, if you don't, you should. Obviously I love it, so again, classic, chef's kiss, delicious. Now I'm going to talk about the two Twilight fics that I feel like are holy grail, and they are a pair. It's a story and then a sequel. And the original story is called There Will Be Blood. The sequel is called There Will Be Freedom, both by an author named Johnny Boy 7. And these are AUs where Edward is the head of a mafia family. So in this situation, like, all the characters' names are the same, but the only difference is they're in Chicago. They're not vampires. Obviously, they're just straight up humans. And Edward is a part of a mafia family. The Cullens are a mafia. And every villain in the Twilight stories are pretty much another rival mafia family. So the premise is Bella comes to Northwestern as a freshman, and Alice is her dorm neighbor, and she convinces her to go to this club. I want to say Edward owns the club, but I think Jasper might own it. But they go to this club. Bella sees blood, she faints because that's her thing, and Edward sort of like helps her come to, gets her home safely. And then because he's used to chasing after women who always want him, but Bella does not want him, he sort of is like obsessed. Obsessed is a bad word. He's just like obsessed with getting her to want to be with him, only for the fact that like women don't deny him. So he chases after her, and then they end up getting together because he realizes that like he loves her, but he's sort of he's got emotional issues because again, he's a mafia guy. He's been trained to be a killer. He's been trained to be detached, so it's hard for him to like open up and be with her. But obviously because they're meant to be, they're meant to be. And this fic basically just cycles like them falling in love, Bella sort of coming to terms with him being in the mafia, and like there's a whole bunch of dramatic shit that happens after the fact because again he's in the mafia, and since he's the next in line to be the head of the family, her being with him sort of puts her in danger, which is the heavy plot point. Yeah, all the villains are rival families, but Jacob is like the head of the, what would that department in the police office be called? Whatever, he's the head of like that crime or organized crime. He's the head of the organized crime like department in Chicago PD. And so he's always been trying to get Edward, take him down, put him in prison. So he's also a villain in this. And again, I think it's just good. I read this, actually, this is the one that I read the most. It's good, right? And then the sequel, There Will Be Freedom, happened 2 years after the end of the first one. And I can't really tell you much because it is a direct sequel and like the first one kind of ends kind of crazy. So the next one picks up. But in the second one, Bella and Edward are still together. They get married, they have a family, but it's like, it's less dramatic than the first one because they're not really like young anymore. They're still young. They're like in their 20s and like 30s or whatever, but it's less dramatic because at this point, Edward is the head of the mafia. So like, it's more about him gaining more control over like competing mafia families, land and territory and businesses than it is like him fighting to keep Bella safe. But this one, I just read it because it's a continuation of the story and the whole story to me is good. It's not really, out of the two, I would pick the first one, but overall they're both great. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. These are my 4 favorite fics, Holy Grail. Like I said, if you know of any Zutara, help us out. I'm looking for a good one. I don't really want Raylo fics. I'm not trying to go that deep into it. I'm just here for the vibes, like I said earlier. And yeah, do you read fic? If you do, who are your ships? Who are you into? What's your vibe? Okay, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.